What is going on, everybody? I go by the name of Curry, and I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on SneakerPhetish. Big news today in the world of sneakers and streetwear. Supreme, the almighty Supreme, has been bought out, acquired, taken over, whatever you want to call it, by VF Corporation for $2.1 billion. Now, there's a lot going on here, and of course, you guys came to the right place for us to break it all down, because not only do I want to talk about what this deal really entails, we're going to back it up with the actual slide deck, the actual PowerPoint that was used by the company to actually break down this deal and what it entails. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, first things first, who in the world is VF Corporation? VF Corporation is a big conglomerate, a big company that houses a lot of different brands. Now, VF Corporation is like a lot of different corporations out there. They do these types of acquisitions and takeovers to build up their own portfolio. VF Corporation is a publicly traded company. They're on the stock market. You can invest in them. Matter of fact, their stock went up quite a bit with the announcement of the Supreme merger. There's a lot going on at VF Corporation, and VF Corporation actually owns a lot of different brands. They own brands like JanSport and Eastpak, but the ones that you guys care the most about are what they call the Big Four. The Big Four is Dickies, Timberland, Vans, and the North Face. So VF Corporation already had some heavy hitting brands, and not only that, but they also had some brands that Supreme obviously has collaborated with in the past already underneath their belt. So it made a lot of sense for them to go after Supreme and do a full acquisition next. Now, I want to break down what's been going on with Supreme before, because a lot of people have been looking at this deal like it's something monumental or historic. And while it's historic in value, it's not historic as far as it being the first time that Supreme has actually taken money from an outside investor. This also is not the second time, but the third time that we know about that Supreme has actually taken a capital injection into their company to expand it. Let me break it down. Back in 2014, Supreme took on what they called a secret deal with a secret partner that nobody really knew anything about, and that was a company that was called Good Partners, good with an E on the end. Now, here's the funny thing about the deal that went down with Good Partners. Now, that deal was brokered by a guy named Keith Miller. Now, Keith Miller was one of the founding partners at Good Partners, this venture capital firm that was kind of a silent partner of Supreme back in the day. But he has quite an impressive resume that includes being a board advisor at Flight Club, which of course is a part of GOAT Inc. now. He also was a board member at Supreme, so it made a lot of sense that he was involved with the Supreme deal. According to this, he also was a board member at the SacDev Group of New Delhi, India, which operates and manages global luxury consumer brands in the country of India, which include exclusive retail operations for Marc Jacobs, Lanvin, Stella McCartney, Alexander McQueen, Diane Dunn Furstenberg, Moschino, and others. He also was one of the first investors of Chrome Hearts. You know, the clothing brand that all the celebrities are wearing now? He was a part of that too. This guy's the real deal. He's been all over the place, and obviously he's done a lot of big deals in the world of streetwear and fashion, things of that nature. So him brokering this deal, being a part of this secret deal that happened in 2014 was just a walk in the park for him. Now, the funny thing about them taking that investment back in 2014 was that James Jebbia was actually on record in 2016 saying they did not have any investors. But the paperwork that I found actually come to find out, and again, this is just Googleable information, that really wasn't the case, and that there was actually not one but two companies that were established. One was called Good Supreme Holdings Co-Invest LLC, and another one was called Good Supreme Holdings Co-Invest 2 LLC. Those were the two companies that actually were formed in secret to inject that capital into Supreme. So they in fact did have an investor back when apparently they weren't supposed to have an investor. Now, that first capital of Supreme, that helped them with their expansion. And if anybody knows the layout of Supreme, they needed that money to make sure that they could ramp up their operations, ramp up a lot of the deals that they were trying to get done. And it worked. They got bigger. Then along came the Carlyle Group. Now, the Carlyle Group, they were the big investment firm that was all in the news, and they were the ones that gave Supreme $500 million for 50% of their stake, valuing Supreme at a $1 billion brand. But that wasn't before Good Partners sold some of their equity in Supreme over to the Carlyle Group, but that's another story for another day. But just know there were some deals going on behind the scenes. So Supreme gets this injection of $500 million. It works for Supreme because they go on to do some incredible things. They're now a $1 billion brand. And now with the acquisition by VF Corporation, the Carlyle Group turned right back around in a couple of years and doubled their money, because they went from having $500 million into Supreme to now being worth $1 billion, and then Supreme carrying over that valuation into a $2.1 billion brand. Smart smart move for the Carlyle Group. A lot of people cashed out and became very, very rich off this deal. I want you guys to understand that. So here we are now in November of 2020, and now Supreme has been completely acquired by this big corporation for this $2.1 billion. Let's break it down. Now, this slide deck talks about the transition of the company and all the different companies that VF Corporation has underneath their belt already, and there's a lot of them. Now, like I mentioned, you guys aren't going to know the majority of these companies, but the ones that you are going to know are Timberland, Vans, the North Face, and Dickies. Those are the big ones. VF Corporation, all in all, makes about $3 billion in revenue, but here's the deal. According to the last quarterly earnings statement, their revenue was actually down about 18%. What that told me is that now was the time to go ahead and move on the Supreme deal to jump their stock up, to jump their revenues up. Hopefully, we'll get into that in a little bit, and to kind of revitalize their company and their brand. Now, let's talk about this chart here. This says streetwear is an attractive portfolio adjacency. Basically, they made this Venn diagram kind of looking picture here that talks about all the other things that the company is already inundated with: workwear, work-inspired, health and wellness, experiences, performance footwear. And they're seeing here that Supreme and streetwear is a new category that they can now carve out that will actually add into their business model. Now, that makes a lot of sense because, again, they own Vans. So they already have been dabbling in streetwear and skater culture, which, of course, Supreme is all about. Last thing about this slide is that they said there's a $500 billion total addressable market for VF by bringing in Supreme. So by bringing in Supreme, they're tapping into a $500 billion market. That's the way that they're looking at this thing. Next slide says Supreme brand is a strong fit within VF given the street-inspired aspects of VF's existing brands. Again, you have the big four here. So they want to tap into those street aspects, if you will, of Dickies, Timberland, the North Face, and Vans. And they probably will do a pretty good job of infiltrating those markets now. Again, primarily because Supreme already does collaborations with all of those people. Except Dickies. I don't know if Supreme's ever done Dickies, but I could definitely see a Supreme Dickies collaboration happening now. Then the PowerPoint goes on to talk about how the Supreme brand aligns with VF's portfolio lenses between financial, strategic, and ownership. Another Venn diagram that puts Supreme right in the middle. Now here, basically what they're breaking down is what streetwear means to VF Corporation and how streetwear will provide deeper access to an attractive consumer segment globally. One interesting thing to note here is that they say Supreme is an authentic cultural lifestyle brand with strong connections to and loyalty from its consumer base. They really want to hone in on that. They also said that Supreme has a large international and DTC or direct-to-consumer growth opportunity, which are competitive strengths of VF Corporation. Now, pause for a second. VF Corporation said in a statement that they don't want to come in and change anything about what Supreme is doing. They said they like what Supreme is doing. They think Supreme is a leader in their space, and they just want to help them expand. And I believe that, but that doesn't mean it's not going to come at its price. We'll talk about that in a minute as well. The PowerPoint goes on to talk about how Supreme has strong brand ethos and values. It talks about their revenue allocation. Basically, all you guys need to know is that 60% of Supreme's revenue right now comes from online, digital sales. That's why those bots are working overtime on Supreme all the time, and Supreme knows where their bread is buttered. That's why sometimes they have bot protection, but most times they don't, because they know that strong digital space, that strong demand that they have online, it far outshines whatever they have going on in the retail brick and mortar shops right now. Let's talk about the growth opportunity, because that's the really important part. This slide here breaks down where they want Supreme to grow and what their outlook is, basically why they're buying Supreme and what they see for Supreme in the future. So let's take a look at this graph real quick. Basically, in year-end January 2017 revenue, you have approximately $200 million that Supreme was making. Good money. But that really is ramping up by what they anticipate year-end January of 2021 revenue is going to be. They're projecting that Supreme is going to make somewhere around $500 million by the end of January of 2021. That's what they hope. Now, with those numbers and with those projections that Supreme probably gave to VF Corporation while they were doing their due diligence for this, they actually pointed out the four pillars here, the four kind of areas that they want to grow Supreme in order for them to reach $1 billion. Now, that breaks down into digital, international expansion, new stores, and existing stores. So basically what they're trying to do is expand their digital footprint, expand their website, expand their operations there, expand internationally, because VF Corporation themselves are actually trying to go into the Asian market a lot more. So expect to see Supreme popping up with some more stores, some more brick and mortar stores, especially in Asia. Then they also want to expand on their existing stores as well. They want to grow their digital and their brick and mortar footprint in order to get get to that $1 billion. But they want to get to that $1 billion by utilizing these 4 areas here, growing them, and also sustaining an 8 to 10% growth rate. Now that growth rate I talked about, that gives us this slide right here. This is the fiscal year 2024 VF Plan TSR, or total shareholder return. How much money is VF Corporation planning to make back on their investment by fiscal year of 2024? It says here that Supreme should be a little greater than 16% of their total shareholder return. Now that's not bad. That means that they're going to have a double-digit ROI. If you don't know what that is, that's a return on investment. Basically, that means that they're going to make a good amount of money back on the money that they're putting into Supreme. And pretty much that's the PowerPoint as a whole. Now, here's the most important thing. What does this mean for you as a consumer, for you as a reseller, and for you as an enthusiast of the Supreme brand? I've seen a lot of people talking about what they think is going to happen. Some people think that resale is now about to go away because Supreme is about to flood every store and be in every store from TJ Maxx to Zoomies to Journeys to Hot Topic to everywhere. I don't really see that being the case here. And honestly, I really don't see the resale impact of Supreme really going anywhere, because again, you guys got to look at this from a global scale, right? Supreme is going to expand globally and they're going to do it incrementally. But remember, Supreme is known for having very small drops that never release again and inciting that exclusivity in all of their drops. That's not going to go anywhere. I don't see them starting to release the same things over and over and over again. I still see them doing the same model that's worked up to this point, doing small, very limited, very exclusive feeling drops, even if they're not that exclusive. Now, let me also break that down for a second as well. Nike, Sneakers app, they do a fantastic job of making big releases feel very small. And Supreme has been following that model for a long time now. Nike made 2 million pairs of the Bred 11s, but somehow through shock drops, exclusive access, things of that nature, it still made you feel like you got a big W, even when they made an absolute ton of pairs of that sneaker. And they do it with a lot of different shoes. It's by no coincidence that you guys see these shoes magically appearing on restocks, second chance offers, things of that nature. Nike does a very, very good job of controlling their inventory to make their drops feel a lot more exclusive than they really are. Supreme does the same thing. So what I see is an increase in inventory for Supreme on a global scale, but still segmenting all of those drops, maybe doing region specific drops. Maybe what we see now is Supreme doing this t-shirt available in Asia only, this t-shirt available in North America only, but still giving us a healthy amount. However, the resale culture is still going to be there, because if Supreme does an Asia exclusive drop, people in the United States are still going to want it. And if they do the opposite, people in Asia or Europe or Africa or wherever else, they're going to want that exclusive drop too. So I believe if Supreme plays this right, they can still maintain the exclusivity of their brand even while expanded. But make no mistake about it, guys, this is business. This is corporate America at its finest. Supreme isn't doing what they're doing just to satisfy the resellers. They're trying to build a huge, huge business here. And this was a major step in the right direction. They were already $1 billion brand. Now they're a $2 million brand, and there's no telling where they're going to go next. But what I will say is that I hope that they don't lose what got them here in the first place, which was small drops that made their store, no matter how big it was, no matter how much money they were making, still feel intimate and exclusive and kind of like a little cult, kind of like a little club, if you will, of people that really were enthusiasts for their products. I hope that with all this corporate stuff going on, they never lose the spirit and the feeling of that company, because the moment they do is going to be the moment that these projections are not going to start looking the way that they anticipated that they would look. I'm a fan of Supreme. I got Supreme on right now. I like Supreme. I'm going to continue supporting the brand, and hopefully they continue putting out some really, really dope product. I think that this money and I think that this deal could actually open them up to some incredible opportunities for collaboration and licensing. I can see them doing some wild things with licensing at this point and really putting their name and that box logo on some crazy products that we never even saw before. We could see a Supreme television somewhere in the future. You never know. Think about a Supreme co-branded PlayStation 5 or something crazy like that. You don't know where this thing could go. But if you're anything like me, you'll be along for the ride. All right, guys, listen, that's pretty much all that I got to say about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you guys gained a little bit more information about what Supreme is trying to do out here. Feel free to dialogue down in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on the Supreme acquisition by VF Corp. Did you know about that third silent partner that they had, kind of the secret partner over at Good Partners? Did you not know about it? Did you know about the deals that were going on behind the scenes? Or are you kind of new to this whole thing? Do you plan on continuing to support Supreme? Are you going to continue trying to resell Supreme? Let me know in the comments down below. below. I'd love to hear. Of course, right down in the comments, make sure that you click on that subscribe button so we can welcome you into the Sneaker Fetish family to make sure you don't miss out on any more good dialogue or any more heat like what I got right here in my hand, because I promise you, I guarantee you, I got a lot more heat on the way. As always, I want to thank you guys for joining me here today on Sneaker Fetish, taking a look at these with me for a couple of minutes. I go by the name of Kari. This is the VF and Supreme Acquisition PowerPoint. And until next time, I'm out.